Hey, my name is John Villadal. Between my 25 years of experience from being a military officer, a Big Four consultant, and a Fortune 100 leader, I've seen some things. I've been everywhere from the shop floor, rearranging machinery to make it a better process, to the C-suite, advising the C-suite leaders on how to drive billion-dollar transformations. Through all of that time, I've learned a lot. I've learned through my own experiences and from helping others. Lots of successes and plenty of failures. And I've created this channel to help you learn from my experience. So we're going to talk about some really cool things that will help you become a better business owner and a better leader. Let's talk about the concept of leadership. Have you ever been to a work seminar or watched a YouTube or TED Talk or maybe read a book about leadership? And after you were done with that experience, you felt more confused than when you started? Hey, you're not alone. Leadership's a complex topic, and for whatever reason, we struggle with the conversation. So let's break this down. What is leadership then? You know, if you really take a step back and think about it, what do you think leadership is? Where does it come from? A lot of times people think it's something you're born with, like a personality trait. Other people pretty much think it's a role that you play. It's a role in an organizational chart. Someone is the leader. But that's not quite right. So what is leadership then? In reality, leadership is an action. Just like flying a plane is an action or riding a bike is an action, performing leadership is a set of steps. If I were to compare it to a pilot, you really aren't a pilot unless you're able to take off, navigate to a new destination, and land safely. You have to know how to do it. You have to be able to do it. You have to perform the action in order to have the name. So being a leader is just like that. In order to be a leader, you have to perform the steps that make up leadership. So what are those steps? There are 4 steps when you think about leadership. You have to come up with a great idea. You have to come up with a great plan to implement that idea. You have to build meaningful connections around that plan and that idea. And then you have to put in a whole lot of hard work to make sure that everyone has what they need in order to accomplish the idea. Now, that might sound simple. It might seem straightforward. You probably are like, yeah, John, I get it. That sounds like something I could call leadership. So what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is hardly anybody actually talks about all 4 steps as part of leadership. You see, when you really think about it, the reason leadership's different than management is because management's about keeping the same thing going consistently, time and time again. Predictable, repeatable processes, which is crucially important in any business, really any organization. But leadership's about change. It's about making something new and different or reacting to new market events or new competition. So leadership's being dynamic. So coming up with that idea and that plan, that's the foundation of great leadership. And that's something that very few people talk about or think about when they talk about leadership. Most of the focus is on putting in that hard work to make sure people have what they need, communicating with people information, communicating with people what they need to do. That's all part of it. But that first part, that is so important for a leader to have confidence in their idea. Because when you go out to build those connections around your idea and around your plan, you've got to believe, you've got to know that that is what you need to do in order to achieve this great idea. In order to bring about an improvement to your area, your organization, your community, wherever it may be. You have to bring people into your idea. They have to believe it. You have to bring people onto your plan. They have to see it. And then once the hard work begins, you have to do the work. You have to look forward. You have to clear roadblocks. You have to provide information. You have to solve problems. That's all part of the leadership journey. And the person who will not quit, who will ensure that everything that they can do will get done in order to achieve the idea, that's the real leader. So here's something really cool. When I started to move out of corporate America and started to work with business owners, just about everyone I talked to understood this idea of action-based leadership almost instinctively. And here's why. Because in order to create and run a successful business, you have to follow those exact 4 steps. So at the end of the day, action-based leadership equals successful entrepreneurship, because creating that idea of a vision of your business, putting in the plan on how you're going to launch it and run it, putting in building those meaningful connections, who are going to be your employees, your vendors, your customers, your investors. That's all part of it. Then, of course, now the part that everyone knows the best, a lot of hard work. So you're doing all the hard work to make sure that that vision you have of your business comes to life and that the plan you're putting in place is happening. And that you're actually able to serve your customers, to grow your business in a sustainable way. That's what's so cool about it. And what's even cooler is if you start to understand these steps as a business owner, you can see that you've already done it. So as a business owner, this is great because now you have at least some level of confidence that you're able to practice action-based leadership because you've already done it to build your business. But that doesn't mean you're done with this framework because inevitably your business is going to face the need to change, and probably dozens of times a year. So how then do you practice action-based leadership inside your business? Fortunately, it's still the same 4 steps. You're going to take a look at what you need to get done. What has to change? Why does it have to change? And how are you going to make it change? That's your great idea. Now, how are you going to implement that? That's your clear plan. Who's going to be a part of this? Who needs to know about it? Those are your meaningful connections. Bringing them on board with your idea and your plan. That's part of that process. And then doing the hard work to make sure everyone has what they need to implement that idea is part of the process. You're doing the hard work. So now you can practice these steps. You can learn how to get better at forming the best idea possible, get better at coming up with a great plan, get better at bringing people on board, and get better at ensuring that you're clearing the roadblocks and providing the information that people need to help you achieve the idea. Every single time you practice it, you can get better and better, just like any other skill. What's amazing about this framework is that it builds your confidence over time, just like any other skill. Breaking apart the component pieces, understanding them, practicing them, reflecting on how you did, and then practicing to get better. That's exactly what you're going to be doing because you see the steps and you're practicing them actively. So not only are you building your confidence as a leader, you're also getting better as a leader, which means your ideas are better. Your plans are better. The way you build connections around those ideas is better. And ultimately, the way you're putting in that hard work to make sure people have what they need, it starts to feel natural. And when people practice all 4 steps and become very confident in what they're doing, those are the people we call natural born leaders because they're doing these steps time and time again. So while it's not really naturally born, it is something you can achieve.